in one of the most difficult speaking slots of any event, we're very, very fortunate to have the CEO and editor-in-chief of Aero-News Network, Jim Campbell. He is a passionate innovator, and he's going to share some of his ideas about innovating and the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Campbell.
Hooray, I finally got some altitude this week. Going to stick to the script for a change because for some reason when I ad-lib I get calls from lawyers. Can't figure it out. But I want to talk to you about something that was really quite amazing. We're coming up on the 10th anniversary of X PRIZE. I had a chance to be involved in a lot of that. And it's given me an opportunity to reflect a little bit on the innovation and the process of innovation we're going to need to employ in the future. And let's face it, aviation would seem to be an innovative industry. Just look at it. Cool flying machines, space-age electronics, and don't get me started on the cool way we get to talk around the groundhogs. And yet this industry is held prisoner to a well-worn phrase, a god-awful phrase of, well, that's the way we've always done it. Gag me with a prop. Keep that attitude and aviation will die a slow and possibly deserved death. Instead, I suggest that we should be prepared to look at any and all manner of innovative, evolutionary, revolutionary, and even radical solutions so that amazing things may result, specifically the recreation of an industry that once set the world on a new path to adventure as well as prosperity and may yet do so again. One of the things that upsets me the most in a lot of the discussions I hear is the attitude that seems to be espoused way too often that we need to return aviation to past glories. Let's get back to 1979. Why? What's the point? We did that. Not only did we do that, we can do so much better. Aviation should not be setting its sights on recreating the past, but on building an altogether new future. One that may even eclipse everything we once valued about our history. We shouldn't be looking to capture the best of the old days, but in building something better, more revolutionary, and more successful, because we should now be smart enough to see it be designed to compete and survive in a future that is altogether different from that which we experienced when aviation experienced its supposed zenith. Face it, our expectations have been way too low. Buzz Aldrin tells me that all revolutions start with the smallest of steps. Buzz should know. The germ of an idea, and then another, and another, until a series of evolutionary improvements produces the cascade effect that creates a true revolution. Let me show you some amazing sites and tell you about a few revolutions I've been privileged to be a part of, in the past anyway, and what I hope to be far more involved in the future. 10 years ago, coming up June 21st, Mike Melville stepped into SpaceShip One and made history. He became the first civilian / commercial / private, whatever you want to call it, astronaut. All this became possible because of a guy with a dream. One of the coolest guys I've ever met, one of my most valued friends, is a guy by the name of Peter Diamandis. Peter started as a doctor. Bored him silly. Peter was inspired to a new path by a pilot friend, a guy by the name of Greg Marinac, to read a book about the Orteig Prize. This is a prize that challenged Charles Lindbergh to cross the Atlantic. It's the prize that he won. And this evolutionary step in aviation inspired Peter to jumpstart what he saw as a moribund private and commercial space industry with a $10 million prize, the Ansari X PRIZE, just like that which Lindbergh pursued and won decades before, albeit for a much smaller amount. Look at that. I got to fly formation on this thing. We were flying captures, so forth and so on. It's an amazing thing to look out your window and 10 feet away is a flippin' spaceship. And a guy by the name of Burt Rutan built the damn thing. The upshot of all this adventure was the entry of several dozen teams in a contest to produce the first private spaceship, and it was a prize that was won by a home-building icon who started with model airplanes, worked as an engineer in civil aviation, went on to design and sell plans for a number of experimental home-built airplanes, like my Long Easy, God, what a great airplane, and then went on to make history in a number of ways, not the least of which was the around-the-world Voyager, and his greatest achievement of all, SpaceShip One, which now proudly hangs in the Smithsonian after a series of suborbital flights, 3 total, 2 of which qualified for the X Prize, the first on September 29th, 2004, and the winning flight on October 4th, flown by Brian Binney. These flights culminated in producing the first private commercial astronauts in history. Upshot? Big. The 30 or so million spent by Paul Allen, who financed the project, was a basis for an industry that's already seen hundreds of millions in development so far, and may be flying space tourists as early as late next year. That's Peter on the right, airport manager, Mojave Airport Manager Stu Witt on the left. It is amazing. Come on up. This is on the re-entry phase just before landing. We're flying a beach starship, flying close in, 10, 20-foot formation, looking for things, finding out that we had a dent in the fairing over the exhaust cone, which really didn't thrill Burt that much. Beautiful landing, extraordinary moments. This is October 4th, the winning of the X Prize, and Brian Binney. And there wasn't anybody there who didn't feel all the pride in being an American aviator. And then we go on to one of the other projects we worked with Peter, zero gravity. Zero gravity, take my word for it, got hours and hours there. It's amazing. And while people may never be able to afford the $200,000 estimated ticket to be able to fly SpaceShip 2, the commercial project that's coming out of SpaceShip One, a few $1,000s will get you several minutes of zero G on board G-Force One, 30 extraordinary seconds at a time. Got to help Peter work on that and start the first commercial zero G airline, which has not only grown to conduct hundreds of safe commercial flights. These are some of the staff members that certified zero G in 2004. Tell me that doesn't look like fun. And I'll tell you how much fun it is. See the guy in the green socks? You may recognize him from a little trip he made in 1969. That's his first trip in zero G since he got back from the moon, as the second man to walk on the moon. That's Buzz Aldrin having the time of his life. He keeps coming back. We keep inviting him to do the guest astronaut thing there. He keeps coming back. The problem is we're getting sick of him. We can't throw him off the damn airplane. Get this. Zero G is now doing the same thing for NASA. We pioneered procedures. We're using modified 727, not modified much. 2 of them. We actually own the airplanes now. And get this. It's making money. There was another project came along the way. Oh, before I forget, Burt Rutan playing Superman. And that's Greg Marinac, who gave Peter Diamandis the book on the Orteig Prize. So it's all Greg's fault. And we remind him on a regular basis. One of the most innovative projects I've ever been involved in has so far been an abject failure, but not for lack of trying, just for lack of funding. Yeah, we ran out of money. Where have we heard that? Anybody had that problem before? With the firm historical records of the many successes that aviation experienced with early 20s and 30s air racing, we thought that there had to be a way to motivate and bring a private space technology and private rocket technology into the 21st century on a home building basis. New designs, new skills, new concepts, the willingness to embrace truly radical concepts. Aviation's collective knowledge grew immeasurably in the 20s and 30s due to the human need to compete with each other and to build phenomenal aircraft to make it possible to win. The Rocket Racing League produced several new prototypes, 5 in all, with differing propulsion systems. We flew dozens of times, and God willing, it'll be used as a starting point sometime in the future when somebody ultimately solves the biggest challenge of all, how to find the bucks so you can play Buck Rogers. That's Rick Searfoss, my partner in crime on a number of adventures. He's a 3-time shuttle veteran. This was a Long Easy modified. It became the basis for all the rocket racing prototypes, which eventually used Velocity airframes. And I got to tell you, this little thing went like stink. It was a lot of fun. If you forgive me a little pride in my own undertaking, pleased to tell you of a little revolution that I was kind of pushed and goaded into some years ago. As the owner-publisher of a print magazine, I grew tired and impatient with the concept of killing new trees to put out old news. And as the web grew out of infancy over 15 years ago, we sold out of all the print projects and did something that everybody, and I mean everybody, told me I was nuts to do. Folks, that was 180,000 stories ago. It was 6,000 podcasts ago and nearly 2,000 video news programs. And we're about to start the most radical upgrade yet. Why? Because those who stand still, mesmerized by their own successes, are bound to be run over by those who are rushing forward to build an altogether new future and don't care if you're standing in the way. Then, ultimately, we're here to talk about flight training. Remember this, none of these guys get to go to space without first learning to fly. This nation defended its freedom with men and women who started their journey as aviators by the grace of God and some pretty good flight instruction for the time. The country achieved new records in progress and commerce because pilots got our business owners and leaders to where they needed to be when they needed to be there. And all because those pilots started with a flight school and a flight instructor sometime, somewhere, right here in the country that gave birth to Wilbur and Orville. Us. That being the case, I'm amazed to note that flight training hasn't changed much over the decades since Kill Devil Hill, at least until recently. It's been a steady, conservative, even staid affair where the rules are well drawn, the FAA has prescribed our every move, and innovation is often frowned upon. Again, why? Because that's the way we've always done it. It's ruled the roost, and with it, the most critical industry in all of aviation. Brother Jerry and his partners, well, they don't quite work that way. I'm not quite sure how they work, but they certainly don't work that way. Flight instructors can really be useful tools for nearly all phases and modalities of flight. Flight training can be innovative. And flight training aircraft can reflect the realities of the times and not be priced out of the reach of today's struggling flight schools and flight instructors. It's Innovation 101, pure and simple. Evolutionary changes building upon one another until the resultant cascade effect creates true change, lasting change, sustainable industries, and a new future for the world of aviation. Thanks, Jerry. And welcome to the revolution. You ain't seen nothing yet. Aviation can and will see its best days in our future. Innovation can and will make it so, because the most exciting pursuit known to man demands it. You're the front guard in all of this. It starts here, ultimately it will end here. Do not think for a second that you're not the most important cog in the wheel. Thank you.